Duncan straight up has a I think this is an Obama era drone.
You did not.
Might be early Trump. I'm not sure. They look very similar to me. But basically a small little mobile plane.
Oh my God.
Comes flying in. What? That's the intersectional leftist part.
We got to stretch here because we are supporting the monarchy in this post.
You know, he got some weapons from the U.S. military. So in comes this little drone plane and just starts laying waste, which of course. Hello, and welcome to Comic Dissection. This is the podcast where your host, Reno Dino Valentino, that's me, Cecilia Rose.
That's me.
That's Cecilia. Examine comics through a leftist intersectional lens. That's right. The revolution will not only be televised, it will also be paneled and have onomatopoeias of bams and bams and smashes and booms.
Yep, paneled and broadcast through your ears as well as
it's all forms. I don't know why we have to, especially now. Nobody watches TV anymore. The revolution must change mediums. So I'm hoping for trade paperback revolution. Hey.
Well, I mean, we are reading the same comic that asked where the banner for the revolution was last time. That's right. So. Yeah, this comic really is all about the revolution, the freedom of Eternia. That's right. Once more delving into the world of DC Comics' take on Heman. We really do get around, though. You know that?
We are all over the place. Whenever I'm scrolling through looking for whatever episode I have to edit that's coming out next, and I take a look at all the things that we've covered. Our issue 1 of the DC Comic Pride comic, all the, through Sailor Moon, through the Psychopaths prequel.
G.I. Joe.
Through G.I. Joe and the 12 and Batman and Given and until I met my husband, we've hit so many. I don't know. I'm proud of the breadth and the width of our of the comics we've captured.
No, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, Moss, understanding I mean, we've done good. We've done good, kid. But a little peek behind the curtain. We are recording this on September 26th. You will be hearing it way later, but that is the day before my birthday, which is, let's say that's why we're going back into the world of He-Man.
This is your present to yourself? You know what, that's fair, because we did Spider-Punk for, well, it'll be released near my birthday.
Yeah, we did that a little different. I recorded mine. I want the recording of it to be near my birthday, and you want the release of it to be near your birthday, which is fine.
Delayed gratification versus instant gratification.
The male mind versus the female mind, mayhaps. We're doing something a little strange because we're actually going to delve into. DC did a collection of digital comics. They did 7 or 8 of them. And we're going to be looking at those, but don't worry. They have been released in 2014. They were released in a trade paperback. The link to that was in last episode show notes, and will also be in this episode show notes. So you do not have to go and search the ancient halls of the internet to try and find the digital versions of these comics. They are available. And we are also going to do the 2-parter, the Origins of Heman and Skeletor, which will lead us into the next arc, which I'm very excited for. We won't hit it this time, but next time we're getting into the next arc where we will finally get to meet She-Ra, He-Man's sister. And,
that's right.
And the Horde, who is the evil army that is currently in control of her homeworld, and of course will eventually get to Eternia and start fucking things up there. Some of the things in these digital comics are foreshadowing to that and to things that will happen. But I think the real purpose of them was we talked about last time how Cecilia did not grow up with He-Man, and her only experience was the Kevin Smith Netflix cartoon. Yeah. And I think these digital comics were to give you little snippets of some of the other characters to help develop those good feelings that you would not have if you didn't grow up with them, where you're like, why do I give a shit about Orko? Who the fuck is Man-at-Arms? Who's this Trapjaw guy? Like, you get you get these little snippets. They're very short. They're only like, I don't know, 10 pages a piece. And just to run through, we're going to do Man-at-Arms, Battle Cat, King Randor, Evil-Lynn, Orko, Trapjaw, and then the Origins of Heman and the Origins of Skeletor, which is really a single thing and cut into 2 parts. Because really, how you gonna do a comic without a He-Man universe without He-Man and Skeletor? They are the Batman and Joker of their respective worlds.
Yeah, they're very dependent. Their existence is dependent on each other.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, we're going to delve into the first, well, it's actually called Digital Issue 2, and I cannot figure out what Digital Issue 1 was. We are reading this out of the Omnibus, the He-Man Omnibus. If you happen to have that, it's pages 153 to 268, but I do not know. I looked online. It never explains why issue 2 is the first digital issue that they cover.
Just a quick peek for me. I was worried that this was going to take a while to read because it's like 130 pages.
Yeah.
But there were so many battle sequences that I just kind of glossed over when I was reading.
There's a lot of like pages with no words where it's just people shooting at each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about, 153 to 268. It's like 115 pages.
Yeah.
Which is about, I tried to make it, because again, we're doing an omnibus that is as thick as War and Peace, and poor Cecilia had to borrow it and lug it around like a albatross around her neck until she finished reading it.
It actually only took me one afternoon.
Yeah. They're quick reads, and I think it helps also that they're each just little stories. There is some interconnectability between them, but they're just quick little stories that just one-offs. And we will start with our one-off with Man-at-Arms.
Yep.
Teela's father, the head of the Eternia Knights, and all
they're
around.
At Point Dread, which I wrote sounds like a good vacation place.
Yes, well, they're north of Point Dread in the Mystic Mountains. Both places that actually appear
in Eternia.
In the old 80s cartoon, it goes way back. Point Dread's actually
Mystic Mountains sounds like erotic heroin.
It sounds like the kind of thing that they're only open at Mardi Gras and you're supposed to wear a mask and nothing else. Come to the Mystic Mountains.
This is where you get your beads.
Yeah. Come to the Mystic Mountains for Mardi Gras.
Oh, Lord.
Please take your absinthe and ecstasy at the door and have a great time.
I want to try absinthe.
We'll talk off air. Just realized I shouldn't say a bunch of things I was getting ready to say into a recording device. Yeah, so we open up. That's right. North of Point Dread in the Mystic Mountains. Point Dread was also a playset that you could hook onto Castle Grayskull, and it had a bird on it that could fly. It was badass. So,
this is adorable.
Even the mention of just, it's near Point Dread. I'm like, I know Point Dread. Oh my god, Point Dread's so cool. But we are with someone, we don't know who yet, we do, because the name of the comic's Man-at-Arms.
I was going to say, we don't know who
we
yet.
We haven't seen him yet.
If you're 5, okay?
We haven't seen him yet.
If you're 5, this would be a reveal for you.
But you have this very Japanese Buddhist temple thing going that has just sort of appeared in the mountains. Just kind of popped into existence. And I like that they say that it has guards on each of the cardinal directions, and each one is the master of a different element. I'm like, well,
very witchcrafty.
That's some basic magic bullshit. Like that's some Harry Potter school shit.
No, and actually, Harry Potter does not draw on any actual Wiccan influences. I want that to be known. Harry Potter is a very Christianized version of witchcraft. But this is actually when you call directions, when you actually practice, you have a pagan practice a Wicca practice, you actually do light candles for each direction, and each direction is actually like references a power.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that is actually based off actual Wicca practices.
Well, one of the things I like, and I think obviously this is to introduce you to Man-at-Arms if you didn't.
Who I think I like better in the other comic, by the way, with his brain wiped.
That's the one we're currently dealing with. This is a much younger Man-at-Arms, I think. So he's a bit more wizened when you encounter him in the first 6 issues of the comic. This is him when he's a bit younger and more arrogant. But in addition to introducing you to Man-at-Arms, I also think it introduces you to the tech-magic relation that Eternia has on each other. Like, it's both technology and science and also magic. And they are constantly in conflict. And the few people who do well in Eternia and have good mental stability have got that yin-yang balance of accepting both. Like...
No, it is I actually do like that aspect of it. One of the stories...
It's kind of steampunky. Because what is steampunk if not tech and magic
Well,
combined?
one of the stories that... Well, actually, a lot of the stories, if I think about it, a lot of the stories that I've been working on throughout my years have a combination of tech and magic. And it is a very interesting pull and push when you put them together.
I really did. And seeing, like, who would win in a fight. It's like science and religion for the title. Who wins?
That was very wrestling.
Yeah. Well, but who...
The way you announced it.
Yeah. Oh, no. No, you're absolutely right. But it's also these characters who kind of... And I don't think Man-at-Arms is... I don't think he's stubborn about it. Like, he's obviously...
He actually reminded me...
He's obviously in love with the sorceress, so I don't think he's against magic.
Do you think so?
I know so. I've read a bit further than you.
I did not get that at all.
Yeah? Well, they
and also
do have a look here. I'll point it out when it happens.
Okay. He made me think of an old man who hates technology, so, like,
old man who hates...
Magic. But it's very much in the same vein of, like, those... gosh darn kids with their little devices all the time. That was the energy I got from it.
I kind of think it might be more that he just has no aptitude for it, though. Because, again...
I mean, he's bad at it.
He's literally... he's very bad at it. But he is literally doing favors and getting magic items for a magician. So I don't think he's, like, super... You can't be anti-magic.
I just thought that he was supposed to listen to her. I'm not gonna... I thought as far as the, like, hierarchy of Eternia went, that she was just above him.
She's kind of like the Pope. So... whether you kind of get to pick whether you listen to her, like if you adopt the religion where the sorceress is a wise magical woman who incorporates the spirit of the sorceresses of old, or if you think that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo and she's a crazy old cat lady that lives in a castle.
I was just working off of the assumption that like she was above him and like he was just supposed to follow her orders. So like I didn't think anything about him doing the job.
No, this is more of a favor for a
future wife,
or former flame, I think, at this juncture. Yeah, I think they had a past that, and again, as you go on, you'll get more. I may have spilt some beans. I'm not sure if you're supposed to know that they used to be a couple yet.
I didn't get any romantic vibes off of them.
Yeah. Well, there's only there's not a lot there, but you do have a couple of scenes where like he's just quietly looking at her and not saying anything that, you could take either way.
Yeah.
Could just be a subordinate, like, showing deference to their leader, or could be a dude longingly looking over his bird-eyed girlfriend.
Fair enough.
So we get Man-at-Arms sneaking into this magic time temple that has just suddenly appeared. And then we get a little flashback to them inside Castle Grayskull and the sorceress explaining what he's doing. And long story short, she says that Castle Grayskull, which is a hollowed, skull-faced castle, used to have these two...
Very apt.
Yeah, these two red... They're nothing if not very literal in Eternia. All their mind is spent towards... All their creativity is spent towards spells and science. None towards names. No creativity left for your name.
He-Man.
I'm a very strong man.
Yeah.
I got a skeleton face. Let's call it Skeletor.
Yeah. If He-Man didn't
no creativity left for titles. But back in the old days, Castle Grayskull used to have these 2 huge red rubies set in it. And one was Kronos and one was Chaos.
I wrote down the fabric of reality was held together by 2 gems. Nice.
Ain't it always, man? You magical kingdoms. You just gotta have gems everywhere that can destroy the world and that just get left lying. Gentle reader, if you didn't read ahead, wait till you find out where the fucking Chaos gem was. We'll get there. But we're discussing the Kronos gem, which has suddenly popped up, and Sorceress has found out about it through means we will discuss later. Mm-hmm. And she is telling Man-at-Arms, it's a very magic-heavy place, so the chances of me getting undetected being a being of, like, pure magic are nil. So, you know.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah, do me a solid and go in there and get it back. And Man-at-Arms is like, sure. So, now we know the stakes and what he's doing. He's sneaking in, trying to get this gem. We cut back to Man-at-Arms, who has turned on his predator vision. And he's got red eyes, and he can see the heat signatures of all the people running around, which helps him avoid them. So, yeah, he's using tech to outwit magic.
Yep.
He gets to the room where the gem, the time gem is. And again, it's a red ruby. It's got lightning all over it. I'm not really sure how you could even take it, honestly. It looks like it'd be dangerous to touch.
It does seem a little harmful.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. He thinks he's invisible at this point, too, which I thought was really funny because in the next moment they attack him.
They immediately, the wizard Lex Luthor shows up. This little bald wizard guy.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's like, you know what? I'll give you a little credit. You were invisible. That was cool.
It was the least surprising thing ever that he was spotted. Like,
it would have been really boring if he had just got in and out with absolutely no trouble.
It was just that he went through all of this to, like, try to stay hidden, and it's like, you could have just walked in, man. It was going to end the same way.
The leader dude and all of his minions are standing around like, yeah, we couldn't see you, but we detected the changes in the airflow from your breathing as soon as you got here. We're fucking wizards, dude. We're some warlocks up in here. And
of course this breaks into a fight.
Yes, Man-at-Arms is like, well, I'm going to have to take that gem anyway. So, yeah, you get your science versus magic battle. He's got, like, wrist rockets and the wizard shooting, like, lightning, and you get your onomatopoeias of coom and zizips.
I kind of skipped this page.
Yeah, the Lex Luthor is like, how unimpressive. And this part's nice because he basically snaps his finger and all of Duncan's armor catches fire. He has to like...
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You know, when you skip pages, sometimes you skip content.
I was just like, oh, they're throwing rocks at each other.
There is some rock throwing.
This is okay.
But eventually, the wizard kind of gets tired of playing. So he snaps his finger, and Man-at-Arms is like throwing his armor off because now it's on fire. And he says, strip away all the toys, and what's left? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And at this point,
dropping rocks on Duncan.
He throws him into the gym, though.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is really poor. Like, did they seriously just throw him into his object of coming here?
Bad guy 101. When you're in a room fighting with the thing, you almost always, in the fight, lose track of where you are and set the hero down right next to the thing. It happens in... I'm going to throw out a statistic with no backing. It's like 50% of the time in battle when you have your good guy and your bad guy. Good guy always ends up right next to the thing.
I was not impressed with their planning here. This was very irritating.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. He grabs it, and maybe this is why he threw him to it. Because Bald Dude's like, tell me, just how do you think you're going to get past us? Because Duncan can't use this thing. It's a magic thing. He's not a magic dude. So he's basically just got a rock on the end of a stick.
He got a pretty shiny rock.
Yeah, so who cares if you throw him into it?
I was just... But his whole reason for coming here was that shiny rock.
Turns out it was indeed a mistake, as Cecilia predicted. Duncan straight up has a I think this is an Obama-era drone.
You did not.
Might be early Trump. I'm not sure. They look very similar to me. But basically a small little, like, mobile plane
oh my God,
comes flying in. What? That's the intersectional leftist part.
we got to stretch here because we are supporting the monarchy in this post.
You know, he got some weapons from the U.S. military. So in comes this little drone plane and just starts laying waste, which of course gives him the distraction he needs.
It was probably also like
to get the
part
out.
of the plan.
Yeah,
it's an integral part of the plan.
He had a little button on his control and hit it. And, yeah, all part of the plan, as Cecilia says. So it comes down, drops a rope, he grabs it, and he gets the F out of there. So good on you, man.
Yep.
And he goes, here you go, one eye of Kronos. And Sorceress says, Duncan, I am once again in your debt, as is Castle Grayskull. And he said, and he's turning to go kind of coldly, and she's like, Duncan. He's like, it's nothing really, all part of the job, Sorceress. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a date with a bath of ice. And she offers to heal him, and he's like, no, I'm not a man of magic. That's not my bag, lady.
Like I said, technophobe.
But yeah, he is a bit of a
magic phobe.
But I don't think it's a magic phobe. I think like this scene is kind of foreshadowing that there's might be a little bit of bad blood between them over their split. I don't know.
Yeah, I just got again. I
like
didn't
she's
get
like,
any.
I'm in your debt, and he's like, yeah, no problem. He turns to leave, and she says his name in a dark black font.
Is this how straight people flirt?
I don't think the sorceress. I don't think she yells. I think dark font is as close as she comes to yelling. She doesn't strike me as a yeller, but she calls him back, and he's like, I just wanted to go home to a hot bath, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think not taking her magic is kind of a little petulance on his part.
I mean, you know more than I do, so I'll defer to you for this, but I just didn't get it.
Yeah, it's fair. So, on to the next issue, which is about Battle Cat.
I love the kitty.
Yeah, this is He-Man's mighty steed. Much like Prince Adam can turn into He-Man, this little cat named Cringer can turn into the great Battle Cat. But weirdly, unlike He-Man, Prince Adam and He-Man are the same. Like, they have the same personality. They're the same person. Cringer and Battle Cat are two totally different creatures. Mm-hmm. Like, Cringer is a coward, hence the name. Scared of everything. Yeah. Battle Cat is a big, brave battle cat.
I wrote their split personality, and then
really
there's Cringer.
Yeah. And I like this because it sort of gives you the origin of that split. Like, Battle Cat has a lot of trauma from its early life, which we learned about. But it opens with this beautiful shot of, like, the Battle Cat leaping into action. You have lightning behind him and rain.
See, I was not impressed by
wind.
this one. But you get kitties in the next one, and I was very happy.
Yeah. Man, I was here for it. Like, I liked it. And
pretty kitty, he's a baby.
He's yelling, salt and blood meet. Long while claws clash. It's a song. It's my song. And so Battle Cat, you see this big fight with Teela and He-Man. They're fighting Merman. Little merman action here. Yeah, we'll throw back to the Mer. Who, as we stated, fought He-Man a ton of times. And you even get the little shot of the Kraken that tore up his ship in the issues we've read before.
Yeah.
So we go back in time, and it turns out that the green and yellow tigers, which is what Cringer is, or Battle Cat, used to always be fighting with the purple-black tigers. Like Skeletor's mount, which is a big black panther, or purple panther.
He's the green Tigor clan.
Yeah, the Tigors and the Panthors.
Very creative with the naming. Mm-hmm.
And it's very cute. You get
they're so tiny. Oh my god!
You get them winning, and little Cringer's dad comes and puts a big paw on his little head, and he's petting him. And Cringer's talking about, I have a powerful father, so this is a safe place.
Baby Battle Cat gets all of the treats. I love him so much.
He's so adorable. It hurts me to look at him.
So cute.
Yes. But one night, these cowardly purple panthers attack in the night and just slaughter the green tigers. Which means, amongst other things, I believe that Cringer's the last of his kind. I don't think there are any more of him. I think this was like they were already an endangered species, and I think the panthers wiped them out on this evening. And of course, Cringer's little baby Cringer. It's so sad. He's running, and you get these I really like the art in this because the whole thing is happening during a storm, which is a throwback to Battle Cat right now, fighting during a storm.
Yeah.
Which is probably what reminds him of his youth. And you've got the storm and the rain, and it's just black, and the trees are black, and so it's not gory. You're seeing you're seeing the panthers attack, but you're not really.
There's no blood or decapitation or anything,
which is good. I don't mind seeing people get hurt, but don't hurt kitties and where I can see it.
Yeah,
kill them in the shadows so I don't know about it.
We can infer. We do not need the pictures.
Exactly. This is a lot of not showing, but also telling.
Yep.
So poor little Cringer, he gets cornered into on a cliff, on the edge of a cliff. And he's saying, nowhere left to run, stalked for days by death. That means he's been running for these poor things for days.
Yeah.
They could have caught him earlier. They were playing with him. They are messing with him. I'm like, panthers are just evil. They're evil, I tell you. This really is the dual nature of cats, both evil and adorable.
I mean... Yeah.
Isn't Cringer also the dual nature of cat, though? He's the battle cat where he'll attack anything and he's fearless, but he's also,
I just want to, and let me, just pet me and hide me, and I want a soft place.
Yeah, I like the dual nature of Cringer. And he says, stalked for days by death. Death came for me, fear. But then something else, the face of my father. And I love it because at that point he gets his little claws up and he actually scratches one of the panthers in his stupid panther face. And I'm like, yeah, get him, little man. But it's almost over for him. It's like, this guy's going to get ruined. But he doesn't, because all of a sudden you see on the cliff behind him a man with a sword. Lightning comes down, and Cringer, for the first time ever, becomes the mighty Battle Cat. And you get to see the transformation of him from little kitty to big, super angry badass. So badass, in fact, that he owns this entire panther group. And I believe does the same thing to the panthers. I think Skeletor's steed is also the last of his kind.
So this is tragic in both directions.
It's so tragic in both directions, yeah. Only 2 cats left in Eternia, of these species anyway. And... man, if that's not sad, I don't know what is.
It is. It's very sad.
And then we flash back to now where Battle Cat's whooping, pretty much single-handedly beating up that giant squid.
Yeah. He's having some calamari for dinner.
Yeah. And he's talking again about how he's like, yeah, now I'm Battle Cat. Now I'm a badass. Never weak or scared again. But then he wakes up and that was, just a dream of a past battle. And he's so scared.
I swear,
that man shouting in yard, loud, sounds of battle, bad things, bad sounds. I don't know this man. If he draws his sharp steel claw, I will run. Footsteps behind, legs are frozen, and he's just shivering.
Battle Cat, I love and would die for this giant baby cat.
Oh my God.
When he gets to the queen.
Yeah, Queen Marlena comes out, and she's like, there you are. And he says... soap and wool, good smells, safe smells.
Soft touches, soft words, soft place, safe place. Safe place again.
Home.
I would die for this cat. I love him.
And the next page is this beautiful full panel shot.
Now you like the first picture. This one was my favorite.
It just says peace. And it's just him with his head on her lap while she's reading next to the fireplace. And
this was my favorite for the Battle Cat pictures. This was not... Orko's
not your favorite panel?
No, Orko's was my favorite comic.
I knew it was going to be one of yours.
You just rolled your eyes.
Let's just say I knew. I predicted. Yeah. But thus ends our little Battle Cat tale. And, just a cute little Battle Cat story.
I like the end page was my favorite. He's just so happy. And like,
well, once you find out about how hard his life was, you're like, I'm glad
deserves that.
People adopt your pets from shelters, because there are so many pets in shelters right now that have gone through horrible lives, and you can give them a nice new life where their happiness, where you can have this exact scene where the animal is on your lap and fucking
just
adorable,
nuzzled and loved, and
help them.
Yeah.
From that, we go to a much darker tale, the tale of King Randor. Back at this time, just Randor.
Yeah, I wrote and said Cthulhu called and asked for his character design back.
Oh my gosh, this art style is so Cthulhu-esque. This is Leech, and you can't really see it in this picture, or any of the pictures really, but on his chest is the Horde symbol. He is actually a creature of the Horde. There is a digital comic that we didn't read, because I don't think it adds a lot. It's the Origin of Hordak, but Leech shows up in that as well. Hordak is kind of this all-living vampire who exists through all of time and space and is weirdly hard to kill. And he grants...
You don't say.
He grants that kind of immortality and long-livedness to his servants as well. And Leech is one of his dudes. But I love... This story I really like. It's very dark and twisted, and that might be why. But it starts, the opening line is, this is a story about a monster and the better men who came after it. And that will, man, good line. And it will mean a lot once you get to the end of the story.
Yeah.
But you open on this Cthulhu-type green creature who has these maws on its hands. And it is currently killing a cow in a swamp. Like, it's got a head, it's got one of its...
I just thought that was a rock.
Weird. No, that is a moo cow. You can see the horns.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I thought that was part of his hand.
No. Well, this art style, I should mention that each one has a different artist and writer. So you're getting lots of different art styles. The Orko issue, which we're coming up upon, especially plays with that. Tons of different art styles. I mean, same artist, but he draws in many different styles.
Yeah.
Everything from Calvin and Hobbes
to
manga. Yeah, he hits them all.
I'm giving myself bonus points for that one.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead though. We're on Randor.
Okay, so this is a flashback. They're chasing this leech monster through a marshland, kind of a sewerish marsh, and you actually get a little shot of young Duncan, a.k.a. Man-at-Arms here, back when...
He was a baby.
Yeah, when he was a youngin', and Randor was prince and not yet king, yeah. And this thing has the ability to drain the energy of creatures and kill them, but basically zombify them.
Yeah.
He's kind of a plague, this leech monster. And Randor is kind of waxing poetic about the hardships of being a leader and how horrible it is to watch, your friends die around you, which I feel like...
That's fair.
Yeah. And heavy wears the crown. I'm sure it's worse if you're the guy that ordered them into this swamp in the first place, because every one of them that gets killed, that's sort of on you.
Yeah.
Duncan mentions that he's only got a few shots of this antidote that will save you from the leech venom from getting turned into a zombie, which is, man, fortunate.
Yeah.
And you get this crazy scene of Leechor actually hopping over the fray on like a giant purple hyena, another Cthulhu creature, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And
nightmare fuel.
Yeah, and quite. And King Randor takes a couple pop shots at it. He wounds it, but it gets another soldier, kills another soldier, and wounds Duncan. And Duncan's like, I took the antidote, I'm going to be okay, get that thing. And he hands him the last antidote. He's like, get your ass after that thing.
Right,
before it spreads this horror, this plague through the world. Because you know how zombie plagues work.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only did the original host make problems, but every one of these zombies he's raising can make more zombies.
Yeah.
So King Randor is pursuing him. He comes through this marsh. He's following a blood trail because the thing's horribly wounded, kind of on its last legs. King Randor shot its little donkey hyena mount, so it's on its own foot now.
Yeah.
It lost its beautiful...
I really like the way this village is designed into the mountains.
Yeah,
this is really neat.
Yeah, this beautiful...
I'm going to give props where props are due.
Yeah, you come out of the swamp, and there's this long wooden footbridge, and across the way there's these mountains, and these houses that are built, like, into the mountain. And it says here, it even gives them a culture, but it gives them a small bit of, like, flavor text. A small village subsides on this rock island, farming condor eggs on the very edge of the red waste behind them. So this is like a rocky outcropping before you get to the red waste, which is one of the big deserts in Eternia. And I like it that they're just up there harvesting condor eggs and I guess making omelets for people. I don't know what
well,
or maybe it also could be like falconry, and then it'd be like, yeah, we train these
birds,
things. And then
I mean, I just really like the design of the village.
It's a beautiful village really design, pretty, but I like that they added a little
they let you know who they are.
A little culture for them. Yeah, like they're out there, they're up there doing things with condors. That's how they're able to survive on the side of a mountain. Goat milk and condor eggs. So he finds the leech monster, and it is got another person, and he sends an axe right the fuck through it, chopping it in half. This is one of the few gore scenes. We don't get a lot of gore in He-Man, but we do get a nice choppy scene of the leech finally being split in twain.
He deserved it, though.
Oh, absolutely.
He's done enough.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of this thing.
No.
And he is able to save this person with his last little bit of antidote. He basically crawls back to the swamp, back to Duncan. And Duncan's like, is it done? He's like, yeah, all's been handled. So we flash back to modern times where Prince Randor is now King Randor, father of Prince Adam, a.k.a. He-Man, if you hadn't made that connection yet.
I really hope you have.
And I
am judging you if you didn't.
Well, you got to think that we did the first part of this, like a year ago, so I'll forgive them.
I'm still judging you.
If they've forgotten Randor. I was kind of worried, Cecilia, that a lot of these characters, you'd be like, I don't remember this person at all.
No,
I'm glad most of them are still resonating a little bit.
Randor kind of was like,
he was the king.
This?
Yeah, he was the
old man.
Yeah, if you would recall in part 1, he was the old lumberjack who thought he was a king. It turned out he was. And is now currently leading the rebellion to take back Eternia. So he's talking about that was 30 years ago, another time, a darker time. Now I look about and I see light. I see the youth of Eternia, and I hope I left them a better world. So Randor has kind of kept a secret all these years, and it was that village across the wooden bridge had already been infected. And he had no way to help them. He had no more cure. So he basically chopped the bridge that would have let them out of their mountain kingdom and left them to die in the mountains.
Oh, see, I thought he killed the village.
No, it shows him chopping the bridge. Like he crosses and then chops the bridge behind him.
Okay.
So he did not literally go in with an axe, but he did sentence them all to death. They're just going to rot into pieces in that village. And he left them there. And I like that he's basically saying that he knows that the heroes now are better than he was. Like, I think he feels like He-Man would have found a way to save them. The Sorceress would have found a way. Teela would have found a way. Like, I like that he sees... You get so much on the internet of the fucking every generation being like, the generation that came after us is garbage and they suck and these fucking millennials or Generation Y or, whatever generation that came after is garbage.
Yeah.
And I feel like King Randor here, if you disagree, let me know, Cecilia, is kind of like, no, the people that came after me are better than I am. Like,
I do agree
I did a bad
that
thing.
he considers them better. I don't know if it has as much to do with that he would have found a different way to handle it. But I also think he considers himself a monster because of this, which is actually part of the reason why I thought he actually slayed the village.
Yeah.
Because he
did, just in a much more slow and torturous way of leaving them to starve.
It almost would have been kinder if he had.
Yeah.
actually
and
done
maybe
it.
that's also heavy on his head as well.
Yeah. But it does, I don't disagree that he doesn't, like, he's not one of these old, like, oh, this generation is garbage.
Yeah,
or
he's
whatever.
proud of of the next generation.
But yeah, I also do think that because he's talking about the monster, and he starts the story the same way that he ends it, talking about the monster.
Read the last 3 boxes.
Now I am king, and the realm has new protectors, better protectors. This is a story about a monster and the better men who came after him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he starts the story the same way that he ends it, but when it starts, you're led to believe that he's talking about the leech being the monster.
Which that was a good bait and switch.
It was a good bait and switch.
This is probably my favorite story, just for the that emotional impact.
Well, but okay, so here, the page before that, he's talking about how it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And he says, now I look around and I see light. I see the youth of Eternia, and I hope I left them a better world, because the price was dear, dearer than they know. And I hope the choices I have made have given them a world that will never have such cost.
Yeah.
So I think it's more about him thinking that the bad things that he did made the world brighter, because now they won't have to make that kind of choice.
Yeah. That actually, that's probably a better read of it. But man, the last shot is just of him on the throne, and he looks so defeated.
Yeah, he looks a little haggard.
He's seen some shit.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like, it's a long time before you really go back to a King Randor point of view, and it's nice to have this little backstory of him, so that when he does appear, you know the kind of king he is.
Yeah.
And the kind of prince he was. And a lot of the frustration he has with his son, who, because he doesn't know he's He-Man, just seems like a fucking dude who just, like, flirts with girls. He's basically the Bruce Wayne persona of just flirting with girls and goofing around all day and, like, enjoying the royal treatment. Since he doesn't know he's He-Man, he's like, my God, Adam, when I was your age, I was like chasing these horrible like zombie monsters through swamps, and you can't even be bothered to like show up for your sword practice with Tila. Like you are So like his frustration makes so much more sense after this very short little tale.
I also think though that it's irritating to hold people to standards without ever explaining why you're doing it. And so the fact that he doesn't tell anyone this story, but he still carries those horrors and almost seems to wish that like people magically understood those horrors without ever having them explained, is unrealistic and unfair.
It is true, but he's also in a situation where it's not like there aren't horrors now. Like, you've got Skeletor. You will very soon have the Horde. And he's like, look, son, I don't think he has to go into, hey, I murdered a village one time. I think it's enough to be like, you are the protector of this entire realm. There are literal skeleton warriors on the border.
You could just give the crown to Tila. I think she deserves it more.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I feel like Man-at-Arms and Tila would be a good father-daughter.
Well, I think Tila in the first one we read proves that she's competent regardless of the situation.
She really is.
And Adam is incompetent without He-Man.
Yeah.
Like, he is kind of useless.
At this juncture, that is accurate. It will not be all accurate always.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. I'm 100% agreeing with you. It made me smile because I'm like, oh man, the stuff they do with Adam is so cool. Like, because I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like, this Adam is a clown.
At this point, it would make more sense to be like, Tila, clearly you are superior in this particular, like...
And she does, in the cartoon, if you recall, she does get Man-at-Arms' job as basically the #1 general of the army because she is the person who can think outside the box and can move the military around in a way. Honestly, her brain...
She's a mastermind.
During wartime, her brain is actually better suited to a generalship I think when the war is over, you should consider making her queen, honestly. But I do think, like, she's in the right position for right now because she is a great military. Like, look, I mean, she sat under, Man-at-Arms learning tree all this time.
Well, and I do think that there's precedent in historical context for a ruler being someone who was also in the battlefield.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, I think a lot of...
Caesar was on
I hate to say it, a lot of Republicans... if you don't have a military record, you have to work harder to get Republican votes. That's just been proven. Not to say they don't, obviously, Donald Trump has proved. They do elect non-military figures, and more often than not, because not that many military people run. But that is something that a lot of voters consider to be a great mark in your favor.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, if you've done military service, then you've shown that, you're
a
great leader,
calls.
which is... It's true in a fictional fantasy universe, for real. I'm not going to discuss whether it's true in in this world.
It's not.
I said we aren't discussing that.
It's not a discussion. I'm just stating a thing.
It's not. It's really not. All right. Onward and upward. This was a fun one. We go next to Evil-Lynn.
My first note was there's no subtlety here.
Yeah, there was a robot chicken where Skeletor is talking to Evil-Lynn, like their little toys are talking to each other. If you don't know robot chicken, it's just where they animate toys and make them talk.
Seth Green is amazing.
Seth Green's so good. And Skeletor's like, Evil-Lynn, oh, I just got it. Oh. And I was like, oh, that's so good. Like, Skeletor's known her all these years, and he's like,
I just got it.
Evelyn, oh, I get it now. So this one's got a neat art style because it's 99% black and white, but little splashes of purple when magic is involved. And the purple is used very, very sparsely, sparingly. Mm-hmm. And I dig it.
I love the way they did the color in her eyes and stuff.
Yeah,
really
like
cool.
There's purple in her eyes, which lets you know right off the bat, like, she's not what she seems. Purple in this is a bad sign. But we open up on what I would call kind of Nolar Black is his name, but he kind of makes me think of Constantine from the DC universe or the Sandman.
That's fair.
Comics.
Yeah.
He's kind of a noir detective type in Eternia. Used to be a guard, but he actually... It's that old thing about how there aren't any good cops because if you're a good cop, you don't get to be a cop.
Yeah.
He turned in some royal guards for some traitorous shit, and he got thrown out because of it. Yep. We'll get more on that later, actually.
Yes, we will.
Which I like. Like this...
They do tie in very well.
There's so much, like, through this whole thing, there's so much tie-in to the point that I'm like, you guys must have had one of those charts, like...
With all the strings on the board?
Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, where there's just tons of strings and shit, like, because the way they tie everything together is,
it's well done.
One of the reasons we keep coming back to this, and one of the reasons I love it so much, besides the nostalgia factor... But we open
up without the nostalgia factor. I do have to admit that I was impressed with the way, because the next couple, you actually get his backstory and why he's like this and why this whole situation happened.
Yeah. So Mr. Black meets a nice lady. Well, not at the bar. When he is tossed out of the bar, he slams into her, and it's a very cute scene where he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I knocked you down. Is there any way I can make it up to you? And she trips him. She's like, yeah, we're even.
Yeah.
And he says, in hindsight, that's the moment I should have realized I was in over my head. And deep down, maybe I did, but I didn't care. So he immediately falls for this lady.
Literally.
Yeah. Twice. And so they share some drinks and they talk about their past. He talks about how he was a royal guard and how he went into it very idealistic. Like, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be one of the king's royal guard. Like one of the most respected things in the kingdom. And, he obviously, he found some corruption. He exposed it, got kicked out of the guard for it. And he's talking to this nice lady. What name is she using here? Spoilers, fucking Evil-Lynn. But I feel like, again, much like... that dude sneaking into that place is actually Man-at-Arms. I don't think this is a surprise, but I don't remember what name she's hiding under. Morgan.
Nah.
Which, Morgan Le Fay, get it? Man, again, Riddler would be proud. No one, you gotta give clues. You can't just tell me. Although Morgan Le Fay in this world probably doesn't exist, so I guess it's not a clue.
At what point is it paying homage, and what point is it I don't have any original ideas? Where is that line at?
Somewhere around Morgan, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. But, yeah, he's talking to this nice girl, Morgan, and it's an interesting line where she says, I'm not chasing, I'm running. And he says, I don't follow. And she says, let's just say we all have things we regret, choices we've made. And sometimes it's nice to forget about those choices, to pretend, even for a night, you never made them. So, this is said with some foresight. There is a part of Morgan or Lynn that doesn't like the path that she's gone down, the dark path. So even though this is a line said so that later she can trick Black into doing something for her, I also think there's some truth in it.
Yeah.
About her having some regrets because, man, Skeletor is a strict taskmaster and eventually drives her a little crazy.
She might be unhinged, but Skeletor is also unhinged.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
it's kind of hard.
This is definitely a Joker Harley Quinn kind of abusive relationship, although it's more master-apprentice, except that she's so powerful that it's more master-apprentice that I'm super scared of is going to usurp me at any given moment, so I have to constantly keep in line to the point that my psychological and physical torture drives her crazy, and spoilers ahead, she does eventually end up betraying Skeletor.
It's got some very Draco from Kim Possible feels to it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Kim Possible? Did you steal all your shit from Heman? You can tell us.
That's
right
the
into the
entirety
show.
thing. The thing I was thinking about when you were talking about the apprentice who's clearly better at this job than you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's Shigo. It's Shigo. Oh, no.
And he basically says you should stick around this part of this neck.
They have sex, okay?
They do have sex. I almost didn't mention that part. Afterwards, he's like, oh, you should stick around. She's like, that might be problematic. And she basically reveals her true form to him, that she is Evil-Lynn.
And I wrote down here that his reaction to her being the main character is the right one. Yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. He's been so beat up by the system that he doesn't care that she's kind of basically a wanted terrorist even at this point. And he's like,
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down. Like they've done nothing for me. This is what happens when a system abandons its people. The people abandon the system back.
Yeah.
And he is more than willing to do that. Especially when there's the hot sorceress lady asking him to. So there's actually a scene of him in the bar, and in the background on the TV is scenes of her and Skeletor like blowing shit up, and he's like, "Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's all good, man."
And
I lived my life, she lived hers.
Yeah, yeah. That's an actual line from it. I lived my life, she lived hers. God damn it! And finally, he's like, "Look, you don't seem to like your job. I don't like my job. Maybe we should run away together." And she's like, "Well, I can't. My boss, he's a real strict overlord."
Yeah.
Like
you see him on the TV.
Yeah, you see that dude with skull face? Yeah, that's my boss. It's not like if you just suddenly don't show up at Domino's one day. It's a lot stricter punishment here.
Yeah, when you join a gang, you can't just leave.
Yeah, exactly. It's Yeah, you can't just step on out of Al-Qaeda because you decide you're not interested in membership anymore.
I thought this was going to be different than it is. I'm super not down anymore.
Well, that's the thing. They get you in real deep before they reveal that there's no exit to this room. Yeah. But she's like, well, there's one way. If I had enough power, and spoiler alert, I know where there's some power. And she basically tells him that there's a museum piece which has a replica of the Gem of Chaos. That is the other gem from Castle Grayskull. You remember the Kronos gem that the sorceress got? This is its sister. Or brother. And I don't know how the sexes are assigned to these rocks. Or if they are.
I was going to say, I feel like a rock doesn't have a sex.
Either do boats, but people call them she all the time.
I'm saying that says a lot more about the people.
And I would also say that magical items are much more likely to have sexes than regular
I mean, they're
rocks.
more likely to be sentient.
Yeah. So, it's like, hey, this replica of this rock is, hey, it's not a recreation. It's the actual thing. And
which I think for a Gem of Chaos is really on point.
Yeah.
I actually like that.
Yeah. It's a good way to hide a chaos gem. It's like, oh, that is chaotic. I also like that this is the exact same situation we had with Man-at-Arms. Like, this is a place where magic... They do a lot about magic protection, almost to the effect that they skimp on their just dude sneaking in protection, which is what ends up happening. This guy is able to...
Just walk in.
Just sneak in, and
he was better at this
gem.
than Man-at-Arms.
Well, this one was a lot less guarded. It was like they think it's just a piece of glass made to look like a ruby. I doubt the guards there are not even there, honestly. I don't see one guard. But he goes in, he grabs his gem, he brings it back to Lynn, and she thanks him and gives him a little kiss.
Did she paralyze him here, or I'm not?
I don't think so, because he is able to say, "What was that for?" And she says, "Thank you." I think that was just her delivering the magic that, in the very next shot, spontaneously combusts him. He catches fire and melts into non-existence, and it very wisely burns down the whole museum, erasing all evidence that anyone was ever there or that anything was ever stolen.
I wrote, "Get your bag, Miss Lynn."
Yeah. Get paid, lady. And she's like, "Yeah, goodbye, Noller." And sadly, that is the end of Mr. Black. She returns it, and Skeletor is like, "I trust you recovered the item with no trouble." She says, "The Eye of Chaos, all according to plan." So now you've got your battle line set. The good guys have the Eye of Kronos. The bad guys have the Eye of Chaos. And she says, and Skeletor says, "What are those?" On the table in their room that Lynn and Black shared, there's a bunch of pictures and books and things, and she says, nothing important at all. And it's basically pictures of like the places he talked about them going when they escaped together. So obviously she can't tell Skeletor about that. Also, you can read it as she didn't give a shit. Like, he's like, yeah, nothing. Just one of the things I used in my little seduction play to get the stuff you wanted.
I do have a little bit of a note.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of miffed that the one chapter we get about a woman isn't from her perspective. We're still stuck in the head of a dude. And I guess maybe it was for, like, the reveal at the end where she betrayed him.
Yeah.
But considering this was Evil-Lynn, I kind of always assumed she was going to betray him anyways.
At no point did you think she actually wanted to leave Skeletor's employ?
Not for this dude. Like,
not for Constantine. Dude smells like cigarettes.
Like, I am kind of miffed that the one chapter we get from a woman's perspective is still, or that centers on a woman.
Yeah.
Is still from a man's perspective.
That is true.
So, I just want to...
No, it's fair. I will tell you that further down the line we do get women perspective chapters. But, yes, their first shot at it did not quite pan out.
Nope.
But, yes, next chapter is... Orko! Which, this is a very silly little, fun little distraction.
This one
You've had some serious chapters, so this is like a very fun chapter. I think the only purpose of this one is... because, dear reader, if you remember from our Volume 1 coverage of He-Man, at one point He-Man says, Skeletor won't get the jump on us this time because there is no Orko to betray us. If you did not read that, you don't know who Orko is. So this gives you a little backstory about, like, if you happen to catch that name and be like, oh, who the fuck's Orko? This is where you get... a little Orko. Yeah, you're like, oh, he was the court magician / court jester.
This one may have been the most, like silly chapter, but this one is the one I have the most notes for.
Fair.
Because this one was, I wrote from the
It is an artistic, like, here's the thing, artistically, it's great. Like, it is so fun. Like, it's a fun read.
Well, and also, just from the cover, I could tell it was going to be my favorite. Like, this got a very manga. You go from this, like, hyper-realistic bullshit to, like,
Also, you go from a black and white issue to the most colorful issue of the whole thing.
Bright.
But that's Orko's personality. He is the court jester / court magician. So he's the fun. He's in the old show. He was the comic relief. He was the cute little person that always hung out with the heroes, like Snarf on Thundercats. He was the one that all the kids were supposed to like, but most kids actually hated. Like every cartoon in the 80s had to have one.
You had that comic relief.
Yeah, and Orko was it. So this art style is it's Orko-esque. Like you couldn't have the art style from any of these previous chapters for the Orko chapter. You couldn't do it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we open on He-Man and Battle Cat racing to Castle Grayskull. It turns out they had captured some weird magical item that Skeletor had, and Sorceress had wisely decided to throw.
People can't see when
I
you
put
do.
that in air quotes.
Air quotes.
I actually don't think it was that wise. She basically was like, I'm going to chuck it on the roof of Castle Grayskull and try and, like, take all the evil out of it so it becomes, like, this force of good for magical power and will help protect Castle Grayskull. And, no surprise, it doesn't work. So, you see He-Man.
You are so judgmental.
You see, here's the thing. Not a witch. Not a warlock. I know you don't fuck with magic like this. I know you don't fuck with it the same way you would try and make a chocolate cake. I don't think you go, I don't know how to make chocolate cake, but I'll give it a shot. It's not how it's done. Sorceress, you should know that's not how it's done. Why am I the one that knows that's not how it's done?
I feel like maybe it would have done better if Orko hadn't jumped in.
Yes, Orko is kind of the spoiler in that he's the one egg too many in this chocolate cake recipe. But He-Man gets there, and there's this green light coming out of every, I almost said orifice. Out of every orifice of this castle, there's green light coming out. And Sorceress is trying to explain what happened, and sure enough, she does. And what she's saying is while she was doing this spell to cleanse this green skull, Orko wandered in. And unfortunately, Orko is from a place called Trala, which is a planet of pure magic, which means he's just got magic vibes all over him, and he fucked up her spell just by walking in. Kind of on the Sorceress for not having a do not disturb sign on her door.
Yeah, maybe closing the door would have been a good idea.
If you're going to do a, like, you know,
experimental magic
shattering spell, maybe have a do not disturb sign.
If you're going to be doing experimental magic beside the door, you should maybe close the door.
Throw a magic lock on there, my friend. Especially when you know there is a spoiler like Orko around. This is not the first time that Orko just clowns himself into some mishaps. That's also a very common character trope of the silly person who keeps causing problems, but we'll love him anyway. And sure enough,
he feels great.
All this green energy goes into Orko, and he starts looking like He-Man. He gets all buff. He actually grows legs, which is great for him. Like, poor Orko never had legs before.
He's like, yeah, I've never felt better.
Yeah.
I don't know what this was, but I approve. He's just having a great time.
Which I think is great.
But it starts affecting the rest of the world, and you get a panel, and it's just He-Man as a baby, and I wrote baby-shaped He-Man might be the most accurate representation he's ever had.
We have Chibi He-Man. So Orko got all this power, but the whole world is being, like, just changed. And right now, it's inside the castle, everyone's being turned. He-Man's a chibi. Sorceress has turned into a bird.
She's so pretty.
She's all bird at this juncture. And then the next panel, it kind of looks like it's been drawn on notebook paper. You actually have the pink line down the side.
Underpants.
Yeah, and the blue lines. Like, it looks like... And then you have... It sort of looks like wood oak paneling. Mm-hmm. So just every second, the environment is changing. I
really like on the bottom of page 206, and thank you for having page numbers in this.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just singing those praises.
With an omnibus, if you don't, just shoot me in the head right now. Like, you cannot have a book with 10,000 pages and not put page numbers in it. Thank you, DC, for doing that. And all trade paperbacks and graphic novels, please follow their example.
So, but yeah, the bottom of page 206
took note of that panel.
Is the cutest, like, I love this
that
panel.
Actually is
and
my favorite panel.
Right here.
This is my favorite panel. So it may surprise you that the Orko comic does have my favorite panel.
I wrote here, I am here for the cutesy art. I think I would like this book a whole lot better if everything were done kind of in this style.
I couldn't take it.
I love it.
I could not.
million
yeah,
percent
I'm
here
not,
for it.
Here's the thing. I like chibi for a shot. I do not like chibi for an entire comic.
This Panther
gets turned into
a
Kirby.
fluffy pink cat.
If you know Kirby from the Kirby games or Smash Brothers, that is what Panther gets turned into, but with cat ears and whiskers, and he is so mad about it.
He's so adorable, and Skeletor is like, stop looking cute.
And he says, I can't help it, Skeletor. I feel suddenly lovable to the extreme. He's like getting ready to throw up. But the panel before that, I love the dialogue as well, because Evil-Lynn says, why are there so many rainbows? I'm like, aw, she's channeling MAGA right now. And Trapjaw. So Trapjaw can put different weapons on his arm. And right now, his hook arm has been turned into a candy cane. And it makes me happy. And you also have Stinkor the Skunk Man just looking up with his eyes like, what the hell is going on? Anyway, favorite panel.
It's so cute.
I adore it. It's such a cute panel. I will give all that credit. And then at the bottom of the next page, you have the heroes who are also all slowly getting turned. Man-at-Arms.
Look at him.
Yeah, his left arm has turned into the Thing from the Fantastic Four. His laser gun has turned into a Super Soaker. Many Faces, who is an actor who can like change his appearance to look like anyone, has turned into Batman.
But like Lego Batman.
Yeah, he's still got like the weird mini face like blue helmet, but it's Batman underneath. And he says, "I'll use my Batarang." So he is straight up Batman. It's DC comic. They can do it. Yeah. And Buzz-Off, who is normally a Buzzman, is now just a little Buzzy Bee.
I thought it was a fly.
Yeah, well, he's got the yellow and black stripes, but Fly, he might be Fly, he might be Buzz. Then we go to SpongeBob SquarePants.
This one did get a boo from me. I don't like SpongeBob SquarePants.
Well, luckily, no matter what you do like, it won't stick around long. But we get...
Although I do like Merman in this one.
Merman's like, oh, I like this world because everything's underwater. And Skeletor's like, don't test me, fish man. And we get He-Man as the star dude.
Patrick.
Thank you. See, you like it better than I do.
I hate it, but I hate it the kind of way that you know something exists and hate it.
Fair enough. But yeah, he's riding a fish battle cat, and it's very cute. And Castle Grayskull is the pineapple under the sea with 2 carrots for the towers.
I did write down here, Merman is so cute, let him rule, it'll be fine. He should get his wish.
He's doing great. So what keeps happening is like the gems this green gem keeps flashing. Every time it flashes, the environment changes completely. Next we go to like scribbles that transition into hieroglyphics, which is really cool. You get the kitties fighting, and you get a very awesome like Egyptian sorceress.
I wrote down Egyptian sorceress is my favorite version of her.
It's a very cool version of her.
It's so cool.
In the 2002 comic revamp, or the animated, there was also a cartoon. It was a comic and cartoon. But they did this sorceress, and she was very Egyptian style like this. It was a very cool look for her, and I wish they had moved that into this.
And
but they went in a different direction. That was fine.
For an Understanding Comics knock, very cool callback to the notion of hieroglyphics as comics.
As comics, yeah. Good catch. Yep. And, but... Again, the only sad part of this is you don't get to stay anywhere very long, because the very next panel, it's now Pac-Man. Yeah. and Orko is a ghost, of course, and Skeletor is Pac-Man. He's like, I'm going to eat you before you power up, because in Pac-Man you get pellets and you can eat the ghost. It's very silly. And then they go to Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah. I
wrote down, is this Calvin and Hobbes? Because that's so cute. I love that.
Absolutely.
Look at the little Skeletor.
Skeletor and Evil-Lynn are so matched. Evil-Lynn is Susie Durkins. The cat is Cringer is Hobbes. And he says, all realities work for green tigers, which is absolutely a perfect thing for Hobbes to say. And... they switch again, and then you've got a giant Stinkor as a cat. I think this might have been Garfield, but I'm not 100% sure. I was thinking Garfield, though. And then Stinkor is releasing his stink, and it's getting everybody.
Don't even have a nose and it hurts.
Even Skeletor, even his own men. So you kind of get this little, even though it's an Orko comic and it's just a little fun time with Orko, you are sort of getting these little nods that Skeletor's minions would all take over if they could. Merman takes a shot at leadership. Now Stinkor is trying to lay claim to the throne. And then we get Sorceress as a bird hand puppet. You can even see the hairy arm that is steering her, coming out of the smoke and telling Orko to get back to the castle. She's got a plan. He gets back in, and now she's Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I like the hair, though, man.
Oh, yeah, she's got some... I think out of everyone in these comics, Sorceress gets the best makeovers. Like, every time...
I don't know. I actually really like Skeletor in some of these. Like, the little...
He looks...
he doesn't always pull out a good one.
Yeah.
But between, like, the panel on 206 and some of these little versions of him and, like, the little, like, jackets and stuff where he looks like an emo kid with too much makeup.
Yeah,
I adore those. Like, that...
Poor emo Tor. But they basically tell him to use the sword to break the skull, because he's the only one that can wield it, because right now he has the power because he absorbed it. Which he does, and everyone goes back to normal. And basically they look out the window and everyone's still fighting, and he says, and Orko ends with, it's a pretty good story anyway. It's a pretty good show anyway. And, you know, so, yeah, cute little Orko tale.
I enjoyed that one the most. This one... I guess, much like you assumed, that one really did.
As soon as I saw Chibi He-Man, I was like, this one's going to be hard to top for Cecilia.
This one was my favorite.
And then as I kept flipping and the art just got cuter and cuter and my stomach turned more and more, I was like, oh, yeah, she's going to be here for all this.
Okay, so on the top of page 209, this one stuck out because I thought it was really funny. Okay. After the SpongeBob one, when they get into another wave, there's this little panel that looks like my Chibi girl could have drawn it. Mm-hmm. And it's got like that little note that says hero with a little arrow and stuff. And he's complaining that he can't even properly punch Skeletor like this. Because there's these flat 2D drawings and it is just...
And I almost wonder if this was a callback to the toys because they couldn't bend in certain ways. But yeah, that's at the top of 209 where we're moving towards the hieroglyphics.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good shot. And this was an odd choice. We end with Trapjaw, who is, I would say he is one of Skeletor's right-hand men, but not the right-handiest. Like, after Evil-Lynn, probably Beastman would be the next on the pecking order of rank.
Yeah.
So, it kind of surprised me to go to Trapjaw. But I'm glad they did, because I actually also really like this story. And I really like the way it ties back to the Evil-Lynn story.
Yes, it's a very good wrap-up for this particular
and for this is the wrap-up of the digital comics, before we do our He-Man Skeletor Origins. And these two shady dudes are talking. One of them is blue-skinned Gar, which we'll find out more about as we go. But he's telling Luna that the things that he's bringing him are useless. Kronos is actually working on building this, like, weapon for this guy, Lunas. He's like, look, you're going to have to give me something actually worth money. And Luna's like, well, information's worth money. And I found out that this gem in the museum that they say is a replicant is actually real. It's actually this powerful thing. And Kronos is like...
Super don't care, man.
Yeah, super don't care. Come back with real shit.
The moment when you pass over useful information about an all-powerful gem.
Yeah.
Oops.
Although, credit where it's due, he keeps that in the back of his head. He does not forget it.
Yeah.
Information is power. And Luna's like, well, I have this one other gig. This one other idea. And we cut to Kronos talking to 3 royal guards, one of which is named Noller Black, who you will know from the Evil-Lynn story.
I wrote down, so these are the men that Black betrayed.
Yes,
nice.
This is the origin of that story. And he's talking to them, and they're like, yeah. Noller Black says, we're in. So the plan is that they're escorting some goods. These guys are going to rob it, and the royal guard's going to... help them do it. Let them do it, yeah.
So, here's the thing that I took note of.
Okay.
They're talking about how there are part of the guard, right?
Yeah.
And it says, which wasn't exactly uncommon for Eternia guards. It's not like the profession paid.
Yeah.
They're doing a job.
I assume he means paid well. I mean, I had to pay something.
Yeah,
right?
it had to pay something, but I am assuming that it doesn't get paid. They don't get paid well.
Yeah.
So if they're doing a job that doesn't pay, I kind of don't blame them for doing this shit. Yeah. He's the fucking king.
Yeah.
You would imagine
he could pay better.
He could pay better.
Yes. Although this is also from Cronus's point of view, and maybe paid for him means something, different. Like
I'm not denying that, but it.
But I have reason to believe your take on it simply because Nolar Black also makes mention of how badly the guard. I don't think he specifically mentions pay, but he mentions how badly the guards are treated. So it's very possible that they are paid poorly. It is also possible that, like, cops, no matter how much you give them, they think they aren't paid enough because I'm putting my life on the line every day, but you're actually not in as much danger as a pizza delivery man who actually should be getting paid your wages.
Although maybe in this world with the magic and the stuff they do, like, maybe this is a little more dangerous than being a cop in America at this time.
I'm not saying these people don't have a complaint. I'm just saying, like, it's possible there is no amount of money that would make Cronus happy, and therefore.
But I feel like the guards are more susceptible if they really aren't getting paid that much.
Yeah.
That makes them more susceptible.
It's true. The less you pay, the easier it is to pay more.
Well, it makes them that much more susceptible to someone else coming along and being like, hey,
why don't you get yours?
Yeah, you got some good shit coming. I'll pay you to let us take it.
And you're not paying. Like, all I'm asking you to do is look the other way, or not show up to
I'll
work
tie you
night.
up if you want. That way it looks like you got, you'll be fine.
And I really like this scene because they're like, oh, well, I don't see him. And it's like, oh, it's Nolar. He's there. Come on, we got to go. So one of these guys knows Nolar Black and trusts him, which turns out not a mistake. And so they come down to where the horse carriage is, and Cronus, he's got this sixth sense, and he ignores it when he shouldn't. He's like, we all knew it was trouble. We just didn't know how wrong we were. And I love the shot of his face right before you turn the page. Yeah. There's a shot of Cronus's face, and he's saying, oh no. And not sure I've ever seen a more terrified panel in comicdom than his face right here.
Yeah.
And you flip the page and see why. It's motherfucking He-Man. And Cronus wisely flips shit. And Cronus takes off because he's no fool. These other guards actually are trying to fight. And He-Man easily dispatches them. And he takes the gun from one and, like, does a long toss to hit Cronus with it, who's running. But when it hits Cronus, it goes off. And, like, basically blows his bottom jaw off and discolors his face. And He-Man just leaves him, which this is not a good look for He-Man. Just leaves him to bleed out. Like, I think he thinks he's dead. Dude got shot straight in the head. And I feel like He-Man should feel some guilt. I don't think He-Man meant for the gun to shoot him in the head, but he tossed it. It did that. He-Man, take a little responsibility. But He-Man is pursuing another one who got on the horse and is running away with the wagon.
Yeah.
So Cronus's friends leave him in the dirt and the sand, and he literally has to crawl back to his cave. And luckily, and this part was a little strange, I feel like they should have foreshadowed this before.
Yeah.
On his table, he's got like these nanobots.
He's got a magic Deus Ex Machina? When you
these little nanobots that I assume were helping him with the cannon. And he knocks it over. Like, he's just planning to die. So I don't think he knew these things could do this. But he knocks it over, and these little nanobite robots go and just save him? ? They repair his jaw and his left arm, right arm that was destroyed in this laser blast. And he gets up afterwards.
It looks like it's fucking painful, too.
Oh, God, yeah. He's squirming. And you get a shot of him screaming, and his eye, like, opens so wide, like, you can see the veins.
And the bottom panel of this page has, like, him, like, all arched up and
contorted. It's a good panel. It's all in shadow, but you see his body, like, contorted, and, like, these these shadow spikes of these nano robots, like, tying him around and remaking him. And as he, like, Let's see. I don't know how long I laid in the cave, or how long I sat in it after. Hours turned into days, days into weeks, weeks into months. So these nano things are able to self-repair him and keep him from needing food and water, apparently, unless he had a spring nearby and some sandwiches. But you see no reference to that. I assume that these robots can like re-heal any damage he takes. Whatever.
Well, he also lost part of his jaw. I feel like eating and drinking
not easy at this juncture.
It would be a thing that would be a problem.
Yeah, whatever the nanites had done to me, time no longer seemed to matter. Still, I know how powerful it could be if used right. So he goes to Skeletor and basically gives him this information about the gem. And interestingly, he says, I only have one request. What I've learned about the eye, you'll need someone untainted by magic to retrieve it. I'd like you to send someone special. His name is Nolar Black, and I want him to suffer. So the reason Nolar Black was picked for seduction by Evil-Lynn was in payment to Trapjaw for this information.
Yeah, I wrote down here, I am fine with the way everything has played out so far.
Yeah. I mean,
and Trapjaw is more complex than his name would imply.
Yeah, well, all of them are. Because they all have silly names for children because they were made for 8-year-olds. But yeah, this takes those silly names and attaches them to much more complex characters. It basically ends with Trapjaw talking to Luna again, and Luna's like, dude, do you know what that thing you took? It was an eye. And if Skeletor gets the other eye, I'm pretty sure he's going to unmake the world because he's a freaking psychopath. Trapjaw's like, man, don't worry about that. I plan to betray him at some point before that happens. Once again, Skeletor, I can't find good help these days.
So, okay. Wait. Then, do you think, since all of his underlings seem to want to throw him over...
Yes.
Is the reason why they all suck at killing He-Man that they don't want to do what he's asked of them?
I feel like...
Or are they just bad at their jobs?
I feel like they are bad at their jobs. I think they would kill He-Man because they don't want to just kill Skeletor and have Eternia be peaceful. They want to kill Skeletor and rule in his place, which means He-Man's going to be in the way regardless.
But in fact, He-Man's probably the only one who could honestly get rid of Skeletor. I
think the egos of an Evil-Lynn and a Trapjaw don't believe that. Like, they're like, I think in a perfect case scenario, if Trapjaw, Triclops, if any of these characters had their way, He-Man and Skeletor would fight till they were both completely exhausted and one was dead and the other one was like a second to dead, and then they would stab that other one in the back and then they would win. Kind of, play both sides until you can get them in a situation at their weakest and then betray and then win. Seize the day. Now, again, it usually doesn't get that close, but yeah, that's the idea. And our last panel is a terrifying picture of Trapjaw, and you can see what these nanobites have done to him. And they're like, actually, as he's yelling, it's like spittle flying out of his mouth, but it's these little nano robots. It's actually a really gross panel.
Yeah.
Because his mouth on the inside has also like got teeth all the way down his throat. It looks horrible and painful. And man, I understand why Trapjaw's in a bad mood all the time now.
Yeah.
Like
well, yeah. So yeah, is this where?
Where?
Oh, yeah, this is where he says to send the message to the sorceress. So this is how the sorceress...
Oh, yes. Also, Trapjaw is the one that tells the sorceress about the Chronos gem, again, so that Skeletor doesn't get both gems. Yeah, thank you for catching that. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when sorceress is talking to Man-at-Arms, all like she figured it out. No, little birdie told her. The little weird birdie with a metal lower jaw told her. So, we cut to the beginning, the origins of He-Man. And it starts with a shot of just a hand next to the power sword buried under rubble. And then you get this was probably my second favorite shot. A panel of like Skeletor's silhouette in a window with the sun kind of rising. And Skeletor saying, "Good riddance, nephew." And Skeletor reaching for the power sword because apparently Skeletor just dropped a rock on He-Man, and now he's going to get this tasty power sword.
The whole point of this whole thing.
Although, actually, I think the rock's been dropped on Prince Adam. I think this is his first transformation to He-Man. Yeah. So, yeah. He assumes Adam is dead because you can't drop rocks on people and them not die unless they're fucking He-Man.
No.
Cheater. And then He-Man does the I have the power for the first time, does his big reveal, and Skeletor's like, this is bullshit! I dropped a rock on you! He literally says, is this some trickery of the sorceress? Which, yeah, it kind of is. And he's like, God, man, and
he's so like...
I've never felt frustration as much as I feel it coming out of Skeletor. Like, imagine being that close.
I'm the next in line. Like, he's very much
Imagine being that close. He's really Hillary Clinton in 2012, in 28. Like, yeah, it's my turn, damn it. Like, who is this Obama guy?
I had this lined up.
Yeah, I mean... In the panel before that, you see his fingernails touching the sword. He's that close. And no. Fucking He-Man. And he's like, damn it, who are you? And then we do a flashback to before. Prince Adam's rolling around in his bed. You hear some lightning. And he goes to check on his parents because, again, he is such a spoiled rich boy. Sorceress even, and again, props to Sorceress, love her. She calls him out on it later. She's like, God, your father, man, he raised a weenie. She doesn't say it like that, but that's what she's saying. I'll read it when we get there, but that's what she's saying. So he goes to check on his parents, which I think he's actually just scared of the thunder and the lightning. But he goes to check on his mom and dad.
Under the bed like the children do.
And they don't answer. And I like this. He pulls the cover back, and they're both frozen in terror. You get a real good shot.
Okay, I was wondering. I'm like, did he freeze them?
They're frozen in these horrified, terrible screams. And you get the crackle of the thunder. Because, of course, if this was animated, like, the lightning and thunder would sound right when he rips the covers off.
This is the line about the sorceress. Yeah, we flip back to now.
And the fight is continuing. And he says he's like, of course, he says, I'm He-Man. And you are nothing. And I like that Skeletor's like, just blows him away as soon as he's like, I'm He-Man, you're nothing. Skeletor's like, oh no, son, you are incorrect. And this is another great shot with like Skeletor, and all you see under the hood is the eye, like cat eyes. And he says, nothing. I am nothing. ? I am Skeletor. I am the ruler of Eternia. I am the conqueror of dimensions, the beast of the Gar. Which that line, the beast of the Gar, means so much once you get Skeletor's origins, and even more as you get more of Skeletor's origins. Is like, and now I'm the slayer of He-Man. So he's kind of like, look, I am the great shame of my race, but I am also a god now. And you blonde-eyed, you blue-eyed, blonde-haired asshole are not going to stop me.
You weird Aryan dream.
You weird Aryan dream. I'm already mad that I'm attracted to you for some reason, and just pissed. I'm just so angry.
See, that's incest. We can't do that. I do have a line.
Royalty and incest? That's not a thing that happens.
I have a line for shipping people, okay? That's what I mean. It's like, that's incest. I don't do incest.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking Skeletor not to. So I'm on your side here. So we jump back to the past again, and Skeletor's just...
I fucking hate time hop.
It's such a good plot device. You gotta
No, it's not.
It is.
It is not a good plot device if you're hopping every 2 pages. If you're gonna do a time hop, okay, like Mao Zushi does a time hop, all right? Mm-hmm. And you start with Wei Wuxian coming back to life, and then you jump back to when he was a student in Cloud Recess, and then you spend a whole fucking book in him being in Cloud Recess before you come back to the present. That is a good time hop.
I have found where our paths diverge. I can't stand long time hops like that, especially not when they're happening at an action point, and anime does it all the time. You have this fight. And finally, the bad guy... Well, maybe not in this example, because I haven't read this yet. But I'm just saying this is a thing that anime and manga is so guilty of. You have a big epic fight. You've been waiting for it for 140 fucking issues of the manga. They finally get together. The bad guy's standing over the good guy. He's got a sword at his throat. This looks like the end. Oh, now we're going to spend 10 volumes in the past learning about how he conquered something with a river. I don't care. Why are you taking me out of the most important moment of his life to give me 3 volumes of backstory? I'm going to shoot myself in the head. But I don't, because I'm brave and a brave boy. But I would much rather this.
I fucking hate this shit.
This I would so much rather.
I got confused and irritated. Stay in a spot!
What if... let me ask you this. Is it better if they have a little thing like before? Now, before, to let you know when it's happening?
Why the Last Man did that, and I still got confused, and at some point was like, fuck it, I don't care where they are when this is happening. Okay. Can all the men just die already?
There is... Okay, time stops are not, that you cannot...
This is for Why the Last Man in specific.
Okay, I was going to say, you can't blame that on men. I'm sure female artists also do time jumps. You're getting really weird now.
Mao Zedong is the author of Mao Dao Zushi and is a woman, so yes, women do time hops, but at least she does it right. This shit...
No, she does it wrong. See, yeah.
This shit is irritating.
This is weird. This is every 2 weeks we're going to have this fight because I feel like as we jump to things that Cecilia likes and things I like, I love these. For me, it creates a sense of urgency, these very quick time hops. And for Cecilia, it creates confusion, which I could see as not being enjoyable.
It's not.
But can you not also see my point of view?
Now look,
when we are traveling in the present and we're moving towards a goal of finding the Holy Grail or stopping an evil villain, I don't want to take a side journey of 3 books to go back to middle school. The bad guy's on the next hill. Let's go beat him. Or these 2 people need to hook up already. I don't want to go back to 4th grade.
I don't mind it if it adds richness to the story. So, Heaven Official's Blessing, the second book is literally the moment before Xilian goes to stab Qirong. They do a time hop. And
kill me.
Yeah. But you spend the whole 3rd book back in the past when Xilian was growing up, and you get to see the relationship of Qirong and Xilian. You get to understand
why he doesn't like to be stabbed with swords, you see.
No, that's not actually. But you get to understand the complexity of this relationship before you jump back to the thing where he doesn't actually get stabbed because Xilian doesn't kill people.
Yeah.
Or most people. But you know...
The man that he contains multitudes.
But, it's just...
It's just a different preference of storytelling style.
And I don't mind time hops if it's for a point. No. But this jumping back and forth to create a sense of urgency...
That is also me putting that in their mouth. I don't know if that's why they're doing it.
Maybe it's just because Americans are bad at showing movement, and so you have to create the sense of urgency.
It also might be because our ADHD source. For me, this is very comforting to my ADHD. Where
I just have a hard time.
My little monkey mind loves hopping from branch to branch.
I have a hard time caring when you keep jumping like this, because, just fucking get it over with. Mm-hmm. He-Man's gonna win, Skeletor's gonna lose. There's no narrative through that keeps me attached to either one of the characters. Mm-hmm. And I do find it confusing and irritating. When you go from this and then suddenly he's back in the corridor, I'm like, did Skeletor rewind time? Where are we at now? Why is this happening?
I will extend this olive branch. It's a little worse when you live in a world of magic and your world is magical, because you actually could have done a time jump. There's literally a stone of time, that is its sole purpose, the Rock of Kronos.
I hate it here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But anyway, we are back in time, and Prince Adam just kind of sees Skeletor just wandering the halls. I like the idea that Skeletor froze it, and now he's just kicking over plants and throwing vases aside like Link, looking for this massive sword and rupees. And Prince Adam's like, hey, weird dude, who are you? What are you doing? And he turns his scary face to Prince Adam. And Prince Adam buckles under it because Skeletor's a terrifying dude, especially in this comic. He's drawn very kind of photorealistically.
Yeah. I imagine if you're talking to someone and they turn around and all you see is
they're
the
hooded
skull,
and the hood reveals a skull.
I imagine that would be very frightening.
And he's like, look, you're going to do what I say because you're a coward. And Adam's like, no. And he's like, oh, yeah, also to save your family. And then Adam's like, oh, yeah, okay. That
would make more sense. You got me there.
And I like how Prince Adam just grabs a random sword off the wall. He's like, yeah, this is it. And Skeletor's like, Chomp, what do you take me for? And Adam does get a shot off on him, which is pretty good. Like, he hits Skeletor right in the face. But then Skeletor literally breaks the sword in his hand. Because, again, not the Master Sword, just a random sword off the wall. And Skeletor gives He-Man the chokey choke and tosses him aside. He's like, yeah, let's do this right this time.
Yeah, you could use a lesson.
Yeah, he does give him a bit of a gun. He's like, hey, you seem
like a natural.
You're a natural. If you had time, if you had time to be trained, you might have been a good swordsman one day. But you ain't on my league, son. And as they're walking by, they come to this tapestry, and Skeletor, Prince Adam's kind of like, oh, this tapestry, it belongs to my family, been here for generations. And because he does not know who Skeletor is at this
And
juncture.
they keep it from him, too, which I also think is real stupid.
It's the Star Wars thing. Like, oh, I'm not going to tell you Darth Vader's your dad. I'm just going to let you find out in the worst way possible. It's one of those...
And then we'll wonder why this turns out to go south.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the secret seems to be kept for no good reason. Yeah, and that is the thing that frustrates me with almost all secret identities and secret identity reveals. There's never a good reason, or there almost never is, and even when there is a reason, it would be much easier. Like, the repercussions of revealing your identity are much less than all the dumb shit you do to try and keep it. To the point that's like, Peter, just tell your Aunt May you're Spider-Man. This is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
The hoops you're jumping through to keep this a secret is not worth it. Like, she'll still be safe as long as Dr. Octopus doesn't find out you're Spider-Man. Doesn't matter if Aunt May finds out you're Spider-Man.
Yeah, you want to keep the secret identity from the people who would hurt your family.
Yeah.
But you don't
can tell
need
your
to
family,
tell... Yeah,
as long as you know they can keep... Like, if Aunt May is always getting drunk at the bingo hall and just spouting out whatever secrets she knows, yeah, maybe don't tell her. But Aunt May is not that kind of lady.
Aunt May would have your back.
She is a classy secret keeper. That is my belief about Aunt May. So Skeletor brings out this tapestry and he says, I know, boy, but I've never really looked at it. This is the story of the legend of King Grayskull, how he forged the power sword, how he fought off the hordes of Hordak mentioned, name drop, and all from that decrepit castle of his. As a boy, I thought it a fairy story. And Adam's like, but it's not, it's true? And he says, yes, and it hides my treasure. So, the tapestry of the history of the sword actually is hiding the damn sword, which is
clever.
Yeah.
Clever.
And he grabs the sword. He's going to get the power sword. While he is, He-Man tries to stab him in the back.
That'll go well.
Skeletor does a cool, like, fucking jumping staff blow to He-Man, which I'm a fan of. Ant, swine, waste of flesh. You think you can fool me? So as we will find out, Skeletor's also kind of royalty, but kind of not. He's kind of a bastard side. He's the Jon Snow here. But, man, he's still got that snooty royal affliction of where he thinks of everyone as beneath him. Ant, swine, waste of flesh. Like, damn.
Yeah,
so,
you know.
Then Adams does some... what do you call it when, like, you out of body experience?
I was gonna say some dream wandering because we're really sticking with our little boys following their dreams thing from volume that we read before. And
yes, there's a bit of that, and then we get the sorceress this speech where she says he's a weenie. I'm gonna read this whole speech.
This is my favorite panel.
It's a beautiful panel on page 243. If you're in the omnibus. There's a very cool picture of the sorceress, like a full head shot, and then you have a side shot of her actually doing a Spider-Man pose, like doing the knee squats, and just the shadow of Prince Adam, because this ain't about him.
No.
This is the sorceress's big speech, and I'm going to read it because it's great. So Prince Adam's saying, I'm not ready, I can't do this. And Sorceress, and this is where she kind of calls him a weenie. She says, your father may not have known that this day would come, but in his bones he was always scared of it. He let you grow weak and scared. He let you spend your days and nights as you pleased. Destiny is a less kind patriarch, which is good line. Very good line. Also, it's funny because even when Prince Adam turns into He-Man, he has to keep pretending to be this person, the prince that he is right now. All this stuff she says about him is true at this point. It becomes less true as he adopts the He-Man role, but he has to keep making everyone else think that this is the truth of the matter, including his father, which causes his father to be very disappointed in him all the time. She says, you will awaken soon.
We're not doing some emotional scarring here.
Yeah, oh God, man. There's a lot of that in He-Man, which, again, I'm here for. You will awaken soon, and the sword will be within your reach, and you will say the words, and you will no longer be just the prince. You will be He-Man. You will save our world. You shall destroy Skeletor. Because you can. You must. And you will. So there's a whole legend that the ancient King Grayskull, first king of Eternia, said about two bros, two guys fighting it out.
So, clear up something for me.
Sure.
Grayskull, is that...
The guy who built Castle Grayskull.
And Randor's
father? No, he's way back.
Okay,
he's way further back. He actually fought in the first Horde Wars, which were long time
that's
ago.
just. I was just wondering how related he was.
Yeah.
To them.
I don't know if there's any blood relation between them. I'm pretty sure they'll talk about it again later. King Grayskull gets some backstory as we go, but yeah, he's way back. She said, you have no choice, it's your destiny. When King Grayskull left this mortal plane, he warned of a war between two of his own blood. So yeah, they are. They are direct descendants of him. One will bring destruction, the other will fight it back. The end of the world stands at the gate, and only you, Prince Adam, son of King Randor, descendant of King Grayskull, nephew of... Perhaps you aren't quite ready for that yet. So there it is, the not reveal. Now, although I get it, she is dropping a lot in his lap at this moment, so... And he's getting ready to fight this dude, so she might not want him.
You're also telling me, though, that King Grayskull could have avoided this whole thing if he just had the bloodline end with him?
I think he... Man. It's so good how that transpires. I don't want to say he tries, but there's a thing that happens that puts that beyond his control.
Okay.
Of the continuation of the blood. And then the legend is lost. So... No one else knows to start killing them, regiciding them kids.
Well, or just not having. You don't have to do infanticide. I'm just saying you could not.
I mean, that's the easiest time to do it, though.
Well, yeah, but we saw how that worked for Zeus and Kronos. We're not.
Yes, well, I don't recommend eating them. I think your mistake is storing them in your brain so they can pop out later and cause trouble. Zeus made that mistake.
No, Hades. Hades is actually the one who kills Kronos.
Who's the one that Zeus ate a bunch of people though, and then they popped out of his head later, or was that Kronos?
Athena popped out of his head, but I don't.
I thought like 5 of his kids popped out. I thought Ares, Athena, Aphrodite.
There's so many myths.
Yeah, I thought I
know Athena did because Athena's the smartest of his children, and I know Dionysus came out of either his leg or his ball sack. So.
Well, I just remember one of those guys. I remember if it was the Titan before Zeus or Zeus, as these children were being born, he was eating them so that they couldn't usurp his throne.
Zeus was the one who didn't get eaten, though, because...
she replaced him with a rock. Yeah. But that's what it was. When Zeus kills him, the ones that he ate pop out, fully formed. And that's Ares, Aphrodite, and a couple others that pop out of... Because they were still alive after he'd eat them. And again, don't eat gods to get rid of them. There's got to be, a blender. Do something. Do something else. So she sends him back, and we get back to...
Or he wakes up.
Where he's buried under the rock, and he grabs the sword. And then you get a nice final shot of those two engaged in their first of what will be many, many conflicts. Mm-hmm. So that's our He-Man origin. Now we're going to see the other type of the coin. We get our Skeletor origin. We have a cool shot of the cover art is just his skull, and there's smoke coming out of his eyes, and you can see his minions in the eye smoke.
That's really good.
And some of his friends. You got He-Man, or some of his enemies, and some of his friends. They're all in the eye smoke. You got Evil-Lynn.
I don't think he actually has friends.
You know, it's sad, but probably true. Heman, Evil-Lynn, Tila, Triclops, and Trapjaw. You don't get enough Triclops, as I've said before in this. And we open up with poor Keldor at what has to be his lowest moment.
Yeah.
Good old face melting. And he says, so this is the death of Keldor, first son of King Miro, brother to King Randor, the scientist, the scholar, the general. Real Renaissance man, that Keldor. The obvious heir to the throne of Eternia, the half-breed bastard child of a king and a creature the world has deemed subhuman. This is the Gar race, the blue avatar people. I fancy other names for myself. Keldor the Mighty, Keldor the Destroyer, Keldor the King.
So, I know that I already know that this has a lot to do with blue racism, so I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And I already know I'm also going to end up feeling really bad for Keldor.
Yeah. Which I'm always a fan of. Make my villain sympathetic, please. Instead, it will be Keldor the Fallen, Keldor the Weak, Keldor the Liar, Keldor the Betrayer. I love this. Like, he had this plan for his name to be carried on. And due to his plan to usurp failing, like, he's like, well, now I'm going to die, and this is how they will remember me. Like, it reminds me of the end of Pan's Labyrinth, where the general is like, oh, tell my son when I die. And they're like, he's not even going to know your name.
You don't get this.
Yeah, Keldor does not get this thing that he wanted so badly. And he's walking through an old village, and he's like, oh, I remember when me and my brother, who is King Randor, used to play here. And this is the first time the Horde shows up in modern times. Mm-hmm. So Keldor had a fight with the Horde in their second invasion before Prince Adam was born.
Yeah.
And this dude from the Horde just shows up and tries to do a little kidnapping. He tries to kidnap Prince Randor. And punches the shit out of Keldor, who, I will give credit, fucking saves the goddamn day.
He does.
Because they were practicing sparring, so they had swords.
And yeah,
Keldor straight up picks up a sword and stabs this full-grown ass adult in the arm, which frees King Randor. And he's gonna chop his damn head off. And Randor is like, Keldor, no, we do not kill. Which will be interesting. Randor cannot keep that childhood innocence forever. But as a young prince, I like that he's trying to go the Spider-Man route. He's trying.
And it shows a camaraderie and a love between brothers, because he could have let the dude take him. It wouldn't have even been his fault. But he wants to protect his brother.
Yeah, they were so close once, which makes what is to come that much more tragic.
It does. It makes it worse.
So, I didn't mention this, but Keldor's face is fucked up. Like, something's happened to his face. Like, his skin's all sloshing off. He's in a bad way. He can't see. He's staggering around, and he's like, I must find Keldor. My eyes, I can't see. And then he says, brother? ? But it's actually a flashback that he's experiencing with his brother. And this is the heartbreaking part. This is King Randor. This means the world to me, brother. To have you as my chief aide. Your wits and skills will make my rule long and hearty. And Keldor's like, wait, father's last wish? So this is right after their father has passed away. Mm-hmm. And I like this too, because this means Randor was allowed at his father's side at the end, and Keldor was not. So Keldor did not hear his last words. That means Keldor might not have even been allowed in the room. Or at the very least, like, he wasn't there for the end. So, yeah, this shit, there's so many signs, like, all the way through, just from start to finish. And he says, father's last wish, and Randor says, was for me to rule and you to be my advisor. Keldor's like, but I'm older. And Randor's like, I asked on your behalf, brother, but your Gar blood. Whew. That Gar blood. And you get to... I'm going to go ahead and spoil this, but it'll be revisited later. The reason the Gar are so hated is because the first king, King Grayskull, who united the entire kingdom, was assassinated by a Gar. So this is a thousands-of-year-old racism based on the behavior of the Gar, 2,000 years ago. They betrayed King Grayskull, and they tried to coup at that juncture. And so the hatred that still to this day is keeping Keldor from the throne is from that old wound. Like, the Gar were exiled to an island after that. Like, very few Gars are even on the mainland of Eternia. So it's not like they've done shit recently.
And also,
they got reservations out to an island.
They, obviously, this dude's dad didn't mind the one enough for this to happen. Like...
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah, like, he obviously, at some point... had sex with a Gar woman. Yeah. And, I mean, I'm not here to give royalty credit, but he could have just denied him completely and just been like, hey, my kid. I don't think they had paternity test in Eternia, so... And he was a king, so even if they did, I feel like he could have gotten away with, like... So, the sickest part is that the king probably thought he was doing a kindness to Keldor, taking him in. Like, oh no, look, you get to live in the palace. You get to be a prince.
And a constant second-class citizen.
You get to constantly be reminded of your dirty Gar blood.
It's Loki all over again. And we already know I root for Loki.
This is so Loki. Yeah, this is not an original mythology, to be sure. The Norses did it first.
Oh, but, my God.
And it's interesting because you see... like I said, he's having these visions of the past as he's trying to get...
Yeah, I was wondering if this was like a hall of memories or something.
He's trying to find Randor. He's walking around. I think he is in that old village of their youth.
Okay.
And he's looking for the King Randor there because I guess the fight spilled over into that area. But he has a flashback of when he protected him and they were taking the guy that attacked them away. And he says, no, I'm not ready for that path. Not yet. So instead of following that memory, he walks down a different step. He's looking for his destiny. And he comes to a different path in his memories. He's saying some code, but he's activating a portal to speak to someone named Hordak, who we are just getting all sorts of information. Not a good dude. And... basically, Hordak had already warned Keldor that he probably wasn't going to be king. He's kind of been poisoning Keldor's mind. Although poisoning might not be the right word because pretty much everything he says is true. Like, he's like, yeah, look, you're smarter, you're older, you're wiser. Like, as Keldor said of himself in the beginning, you're the scholar, you're the scientist, you're the magician. Like, you man, you're the multi-threat Renaissance man. Randor has no right to the throne. This is bullshit. So, I mean, he ain't lying. It is some old bullshit.
Yeah, it really is, though.
And then we get a scene of Keldor torturing the prisoner, trying to get information. He's like, talk, who sent you? And this is how... we assume Keldor finds out about the existence of Hordak. He makes that prisoner talk. And that prisoner's like, it's Hordak. I speak to him through a portal in this cave. And so that's how we would learn that Keldor and Hordak first get in contact. But then this memory, this young Keldor, turns back to melty face now Keldor. And it's like, it's time. And he says, what? It's like, it's time to accept your fate. There is only one master. And Keldor says, I'm the master of my own fate.
Is that a weird Batman symbol?
That's the symbol of the Horde.
Okay.
That's the dude he's whipping, who has now turned around and, like, he's kind of melding into Keldor.
Randor is over here talking about how we don't kill people. They have Keldor down here doing torture.
Yes. I wonder if this is unbeknownst or not to anyone. Like... I don't know if Keldor just went down there with a whip to get some fucking answers, or if, like, someone was... Because I don't feel like you'd be like, I think it's the royal prince's turn to work the torture chamber today. They
seem to work so hard to shelter the princes. If what King Randor does is similar to the way he was raised. They seem to work pretty hard to shelter the princes.
Yes, but then you could also see them not sheltering Keldor.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering.
I have no idea whether he was sent down under orders or this is his own thing. But for whatever reason, he does it and learns of Hordak. And basically, this black symbol of this bat, or this bat with these black, they start the venom coiling around young Keldor, showing, hey, your fate's not your own. You belong to Hordak, my friend. And he says, the mistakes I've made, what have I done? And he falls down, and he basically shatters. Like, he just falls to pieces. Whatever spell hit him that fucked him up, fucked him up. And then we have a really cool scene where he is literally talking to Death, and I like it because Death looks like Skeletor. His skull face, purple hood. And Keldor kind of rages against the dying of the light here. He's like, I am Keldor the Great. The world will tremble before me. And he gets up again. Like, he will not die. Like, he basically yells Death out of the room, stands up, and keeps walking. Like, man, gotta admire that stick-to-itiveness. And I also noticed that Randor, when he was young, had hair the same color as He-Man. He had that blonde hair. I had white hair that turned brown as I got older. So I know the pain, King Randor.
I just also...
And this is another scene of, like, Randor's like, yeah, I told Father you saved me, but he gave me all the credit. And Keldor's like, I don't need the credit, man. Like, it's cool.
They were so close, and there's such genuine love between them.
I know.
It makes me so mad.
It's so good because it does evoke all this real emotion in me where I'm like, this is why I like the bad guys. Like, I need the tragedy in my backstory.
Well, it's just...
And
bad parents ruin everything. Oh, my God.
Yeah, this generational legacy carried on through the father to son, man. And then once again, something where fucking the king is giving his son all the credit. And this is where it kind of feels like he is admitting that he knows he's lying. Because he says, but Father Keldor, and he's like, it's kind of you to share the compliment. It's like, no, Father, you don't. And he interrupts him. My boy, you've shown today why you deserve to be king, just as Keldor has shown how he should be your right hand. And the face he's giving when he's like bullying his son into silence and staring him down.
He is bullying his son into silence.
Almost makes me think what he is saying here, and I'm reading between the lines, this might be my own headcanon, but to me it feels like he's like, son, this needs to be part of your legacy. When you obtain the throne, this needs to be one of the legends written about you.
Yeah.
Keldor cannot be involved. You will be king. All these have to be your accomplishments so that the people will follow you. But yeah, like that look and that speech makes me feel like, hey, look, don't bullshit a bullshitter. I know Keldor helped, but we're not going to talk about that because I'm grooming you to be king, not him. And Keldor finally finds King Randor, and this whole scene is just pretty heartbreaking, their confrontation. Brother, what happened to you? Randor says. And Keldor says, you know. And Randor says, we must get you to a healer. And he's like, it's too late for that, brother. What happened? Why did you betray us? Please. And again, this is typical King, like, complete blind. Like, how do you not fucking know why he betrayed you? I mean, it's easier for us because we're literally just getting the flashbacks that are pertinent to the betrayal, whereas he has a whole life to look back on. But you gotta knew this shit was happening.
Well, it's the same. Like, I think I've said it even on this podcast before, but it's the same thing as, like, people who were enslaving other people being surprised that they wanted to be free.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... Maybe it's just that we identify too often with the underdogs or the people whose circumstances are against them. Mm-hmm. But to us, it makes sense that that Keldor would want what he feels he is owed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it isn't fair that Randor, because he's not blue, gets to be the one who gets to be king.
He isn't a sign of possible infidelity. Like, I also don't know if Keldor is a sign of the king cheating on his wife. Like, I don't know.
Because even a premarital alliance is still a bastard, though, whether or not it's cheating or, like, whether or not there's infidelity.
And I imagine if you're like, yeah, I actually had sex with a Gar, and I kind of think they're okay. Maybe we should let them off that island. You know, let them, not to bring our own American shame into it, but let them off the reservation. Let them, give them back some of their land, and let them out of exile, because they've been exiled for all this time. And I imagine that might not have been a popular political view to take. And even though he is a monarch, you are there by the grace of the people. Like, at any point, the pitchforks can be raised, the guillotines can be sharpened. Yeah. And basically, they're arguing over who should be king. And at this point, it's known that Skeletor is aligned with Hordak, and that the betrayal actually came from Hordak.
Inside the castle.
Yeah. And Randor's like, the true ruler of Eternia must be brought forth. And Randor's like, Hordak is not the rightful ruler. And Skeletor interrupts him. Not Hordak, me. And at this point, his face is not revealed. It's just in smoke. Like, there's smoke. Like, the after effect of the spell is still kind of floating around his face, and you can't see it. And Randor says, but brother, it could never be a Gar. A Gar can never. And this is the part that breaks my heart. Skeletor's like, not a Gar, me. We share blood. We share everything. While Randor rules, Skeletor sits to his side, and he prays for his father to notice him, for women to desire him, for the people to accept the man who should be their king. Randor says it's unfair, I know, but you were to rule with me. You were to rule by my side, not because I'm better, but because I need your help to stay standing up. Skeletor, brother, without you I am lost. And Skeletor says, then brother, you are lost. oh, I love it. That's my favorite speech in the whole thing. Like, then brother, you are lost. And then we get the face reveal of old, and the deterioration has gone much further now. Like, Skeletor is living death now.
Yeah.
And apparently Hordak told Skeletor there was a way out of this mess, and it was getting a little king blood, getting a little bit of that Randor blood. So Skeletor gets close enough to him to pull out a knife and stab the fuck out of him. And then we get the scene of Hordak saving his life, because obviously this Skeletor was not long for this world. But he is given the blood of Randor, which I'm sure is infuriating, that he can't even stay alive without help from his stupid brother.
They loved each other so much. I am so mad. I really...
Yeah, you have Randor screaming no, because Skeletor's leaving. Not because of the betrayal. Not because of the stabbing.
Yeah, he leaves and says we won't meet again, and
Randor can't take it.
No.
Yeah, Randor's like, you and me, we gotta patch this up, bro. But
he wants to fix it so
he would have forgiven him. Even now, he would have forgiven if Skeletor... But, I mean, what good's forgiveness if you die 10 seconds later? So Skeletor instead goes to the Horde. And the Hordak says, rise, my Skeletor. You are Skeletor no longer. And the last panel is, of course, Skeletor waking up, reveling in his new power. And thus ends our second foray into He-Man. Cecilia, what are your thoughts? In fact, let me go ahead and give you the big question as well, because it might help you with your thoughts. As I stated at the beginning of the podcast, I felt the other purpose of this, there's some plot progression here, but I think the other purpose of this is to get you more in depth and to get you to care more about these side characters who you wouldn't know about if you didn't follow He-Man from 1987. Do you think that these comics were successful in that venture? Why or why not? And which one do you think was most successful? Which one made you care the most about the character that it was covering? That's kind of three big questions, but you can lump it into the one big question of, well, yeah, what'd you think of this?
So I don't care anymore about Man-at-Arms.
Fair enough.
He's not, I find him boring.
He's a tech dude in a place with dragons. I can't. It's like playing a fantasy video game like Skyrim and choosing the human race. Yawn. It's like you're gonna pick the guy who makes things we can make here. Like that guy makes drones. Like I have to deal with drones in my life.
They're literally a Walmart.
Man at Arms has some moments, but yeah, definitely not even in my top 10. So I'm with you there.
I enjoyed Trapjaw's little thing.
Yeah, his little story.
I would have liked Evil-Lynn's more if it was actually about Evil-Lynn.
Yeah.
I'm still very disappointed in that. But like you said, it comes if you get women from women's perspective later.
You get a lot more Lynn. You get you get man. Oh, I forgot all about Shadow Weaver. Oh, so many good, crazy women coming up.
Look,
both good and crazy. Some of them are good and crazy. It's just all over the place. But yeah,
that's fine. I like Sailor Moon. I like a variety of women. You've got to cover all your bases.
We got good times coming. But yes, you are correct about that. And,
I did really enjoy. I don't care about He-Man.
Yeah.
I don't like. I didn't.
Nothing in all these stories brought you any closer to He-Man.
No.
Well, luckily there's a pretty big supporting cast. Like, honestly, the problem you have with this is the problem I have with most things that I'm entertained by. I almost never follow the main protagonist. Like, the main protagonist in everything, from video games to movies to cartoons to television shows, the main protagonist is almost always not very interesting to me. Like, the supporting characters are always the people that I follow around. So, yeah, I can also agree with you there. He-Man also not in my top 10.
I didn't enjoy He-Man. I did really enjoy Skeletor.
The Skeletor one was definitely... Yeah. I will to very quickly answer my own big question. Yeah, the Skeletor was the MVP in this as far as like character development and making me more like interested in them from their backstory.
It's a story that I'm very...
it was catered to you specifically, but also worked on me.
Yeah, no, but it is something where it's very like, I mean, that shit, I love that shit. Again, I pulled for Loki the entire time I was watching Thor. Like, I don't care about Thor.
Yeah.
He's much more fun when his life falls apart, I think, which is...
I think a lot of people liked him when he got his pot belly.
Yeah, like he was...
I think there was a whole group that was really into that. Jumped on that train.
But I like it when people who feel like they've been wrong get vengeance a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, give me a villain with a good and true justification.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I did like Little Jester Dude.
Orko. Yeah.
But mainly I liked the art in that because I don't care for this type of art style too much. So having Orko and having all of the cutesy little, like, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I don't care about Orko, but I did, like, that one was my favorite comic.
Yeah, fair enough. And then Battle Cat was just a cute cat story.
I love cute cats.
Yeah.
Man, it was also a nice... I actually feel bad for Battle Cat, because I don't know which way I mean, it's a cat, so who knows how much, like...
Yeah, cats don't know which way they either.
But how much does he hate being Battle Cat? Like, if you could set Battle Cat down and give him the option of, like...
I think, at least in that story, which again, I think gives us a little more into the mind of Battle Cat, I think he likes being Battle Cat because it makes him feel safe. And like he can fight back against the injustice that cost him his whole cat family, basically. I think there is that, but in the cartoon, in the old 80s cartoon, Battle Cat and Cringer both kind of hated each other. Like Battle Cat hated how kind of like cowardly Cringer was, and Cringer kind of hated how Battle Cat was taking Cringer's body into dangerous situations.
Cringer was
without
like,
his consent.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. So it was often like when He-Man's like doing this sword power, when he's trying to point the sword at Cringer, he like has to kind of chase him down. But then when he's Battle Cat, he doesn't want to turn back into Cringer either. So again, I think it's the dual nature of a cat. Like when a cat will jump on your lap and you will pet it, and for about 20 seconds it's purring like you've done the greatest kindness in the world, and then suddenly it claws at your hand and jumps down and yelps and runs off. You're just like, you don't even know what you want, cat. Like,
well, it's
Cringer and Battle Cat don't know what the hell they want.
It seems like the trauma of what he has gone through did result. It's almost like an actual like psychologically split personality type of situation.
It really is.
But it does seem cruel to put Cringer through battles.
Yeah.
And I guess it would also maybe be cruel to stop Battle Cat from battling,
yeah.
but it doesn't...
Yeah, there's not a win here. I feel like if you ever found peace in Eternia...
Battle Cat would never come back out.
Maybe not. Or maybe you'd have to give him each 12 hours a day, because maybe Battle Cat would be like, well, I don't want to, like, stop existing just because war's gone. Like, I don't know. I'd like to...
But Battle Cat wouldn't serve a purpose in a peaceful Eternia.
Well... Maybe not, but like not all people who are like bred for war can't be rehabilitated. Like,
so would there be a way to like integrate them, sort of like Professor Banner? Like you have a
you just put Battle Cat's helmet on Cringer and like he can't even lift it. He's just like yeah, no, I think you would just have to like it would be like kind of like did you watch Moon Knight?
Parts of it, yeah.
Kind of like that, where you have to share custody over the body. It's like, okay, I'll give a week to Cringer and then a week to Battle, because it does seem unfair that like, oh yeah, Battle Cat, when we needed you, when we were fighting, you know, the evil hordes of Hordak, yeah, but we don't need you anymore. Sorry, you don't get to exist. Sorry, bye. Like, that seems kind of unfair and cruel as well.
It does. That's what I'm saying, though. Yeah. It doesn't.
I've never thought this hard about like what to do with Battle Cat after the war ends. Like, now I don't know. Like, I'm just like... I would want Cringer around the most, because he's the cutest. Like, he's a little cute baby. You can pat on the head.
And he just wants to be held and petted.
I don't think Battle Cat would let you, like, take a nap on his chest, but I think Cringer would. So, you know, if I had my way, it'd be Cringer all the time. But I wouldn't assign Battle Cat to not exist anymore just because the war was over.
I need there to be some way to integrate them so that you get like maybe a fiercer.
I bet you it's a place of magic. I bet you Sorceress could like reconnect those brains.
Then why the fuck hasn't she?
Because right now you need Battle Cat. You don't need Cringer.
That's cruel too, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In times of war, some of the things used as weapons are cruel and unusual. And on that sad note, what are we doing in 2 weeks?
We will be reading 3 and 4 of Spider Gwen.
Yeah, back to the Spider Gwenicus.
I want to finish all the ones that I already have bought in Small Lady so that she can read along with
Read them and listen. All right.
Yep.
I'm here for it. And you all should be here for it, too. In the meantime, be your own ally.
Be your own ally.
All of our contacts are in the show notes. If
follow us.
To follow us on the
doing?
things. My birthday's tomorrow. And
by the time
when you hear this episode, you've missed it, and you haven't gotten me anything yet. So, 5-star ratings and reviews are free and kind gifts to give.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not trying to guilt trip you, but yeah.
Yes, he is, and you should own it.
Do it.
A good guilt trip.
Do it, or you don't love me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, a good guilt trip is a language of love. If my family taught me anything growing up.
Yeah, they sure did. That's healthy. Yeah. Be your own ally, and don't go to Cecilia for advice on love. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.